Welcome everybody to the first driver ratings of the 2026 Formula 1 season. We're starting off with the Australian Grand Prix. Now, if you don't know, every single Monday after a Grand Prix weekend, I hop on the Twitch stream, I review the race highlights, what the drivers had to say in the interviews afterwards. We have a scroll through Discord at all the news and memes. We have a look at F1 Fantasy and F1 Predict, and then we end by doing our driver ratings for the weekend on YouTube as well. So if you're watching on YouTube or TikTok right now, come join us on Twitch. That is where you'll be able to vote on a poll in a second to rate the drivers out of 10. Yeah, we do this every single Grand Prix weekend on a Monday. So be sure to tune in next Monday for the Chinese Grand Prix one. But yeah, let's get into it. What was I going to say? I can't remember. My brain just went blank. Oh, ratings are going to be so hard this week because it's the first race of the season and like we don't really 100% know the pecking order. Now in new regulations as well, it's hard to tell what is driver skill and not driver skill. These are going to be very, very hard to rate. It was so hard to do driver ratings last year for the first few races. It's going to be extremely hard to do it this year. I think there's going to be very differing opinions. So yeah, we'll have some good discussions. We'll rate the drivers out of 10, but do keep in mind, like, it's so hard to really know how to rate the drivers. Oh yeah, that's what I was going to say. I like to do my ratings based on performance, solely off of qualifying and race performance. I don't like to take biases into it, such as like rookie biased or anything like that, just solely rating their performance. So let's start off. We're going to go in reverse finishing order, and the first driver to conk out of the race, well, he didn't even get to the race, was Nico Hulkenberg. So the poll is up. How it works is basically in Twitch chat, for every driver, there will be a poll, and all you got to do is type the number in chat that you want to rate that driver out of 10, and that will pop up on the poll. So if you're watching on YouTube or TikTok, come join us on Twitch. That is where you can vote on the poll. Are you doing DRX? And he kicked through the wall. Right, Ryan took Luke's room. He did. Constant issue for Blake, yeah. Alright. Let's get into it. So, first driver, Nico Hulkenberg. Now, in qualifying, he qualified P11. He was 1/10 behind Gabriel Bortoleto. Now, look, I'm expecting Bortoleto to outperform Hulkenberg this season. I just rate Bortoleto. He seems like he's on, track last year to be beating Hulkenberg, and I think he's going to do that this year. So, I don't think it's disappointing for Hulkenberg to be losing out to Bortoleto by only 1/10, but at the same time, he did lose to his teammate in qualifying, but he still put the car where it should be, which is right on the verge of Q3. Maybe there's an argument he should have done a better lap to try get into Q3 ahead of the V-Carb boys, but still, not a bad qualifying from Hulkenberg. He's actually done I think he's done a really good job. However, in the race, he had a power issue, which stopped him from competing, so we didn't get to see how he was going to do. So, with that said, I'm going to give Hulkenberg an inconclusive, because at the end of the day, he didn't get to do the race and show himself. If I was to give him a rating based off qualifying, though, I'd probably give him a solid 7, did his job. P11, just behind Bortoleto, but could have made Q3 and could have beaten Bortoleto. Maybe I'll say 7.5, but yeah, I think I'm going to go inconclusive. If you don't know, I don't rate drivers if they don't get to show themselves because of a mechanical problem early on in the race, or in this case, before the race even started. So inconclusive for Hulk. But what are you guys saying on the poll? After you vote on the poll, type in chat why you voted for that. And then we can have a little discussion about it. Welcome to the stream, everyone who's new. K, Plonker, Aaron Webster, Tok, Cooper fan. What is up? 5 good quality, only had one shot in Q2. Oh yeah, why did he only have one shot in Q2? What was that for? Bortoleto World Drivers Championship, you reckon? What drivers has he done so far? This is the first one. This is the first driver we've done. Mr. Flatbread, name of the follow. This is Zach from the McLaren. This is the World Champion hotline. It is. This is the World Champ hotline. All right, majority of you guys saying a 5. I guess, it's hard to rate a driver who didn't do the race. So, fair enough. 5 for Hulkenberg. Not really much more to say about Hulk. I think this is going to be the trend for Hulk. Good racing, a good result, but finishing behind his teammate. All right, next up, we have got Oscar Piastri. Yikes. What do you rate Oscar Piastri's weekend out of 10? Get your votes in on the Twitch poll now. Oscar, in qualified P5. He outqualified Lando, his teammate, by 1/10. To be honest, he was outclassing Lando all the qualifying, all the practice this weekend. He looks comfortable in the car, if I'm being honest. He also outqualified Lewis Hamilton. He could have outqualified Charles Leclerc, I think. Charles Leclerc had a few problems in qualifying. He was only 60 milliseconds behind Charles and only 80 milliseconds behind Hadjar. So, good quali, beat his teammate, but could have beaten Leclerc and Hadjar. So, yeah, I'd probably give him like a, again, maybe like a 7.5 for quali because he did his job, but could have done better. However, in the race, he's gone and made a mistake before it's even started over the curb. Now, we spoke about this earlier in the stream. Is it 100% Piastri's fault? No. But at the end of the day, he chose to go on a curb. He chose to maybe push the car a little bit out of its limit, not knowing how the car's going to work. He said it himself. He said it's 80% his fault. Would I say he's stupid? Obviously, if you've seen my clip of me reacting to it live, I called him stupid. I wouldn't call him stupid now. I don't think it's a stupid mistake. But at the end of the day, like, these cars drive differently. And he didn't drive the car the way it should have been for how these cars react. And he's gone over the curb, got a little bit more torque, and fucked it off into the wall. Ruined his entire weekend before it even began. So, yeah. We are going to rate him. It's not an inconclusive because it was his fault. I think at the end of the day, it's got to be a 2. Like, you've not even started the race. You know, we'll give him a 3 just because it is like a... Like, anyone could have made that mistake, to be honest. It wasn't a very bad mistake. You know, at the end of the day, he looked quicker than Norris in quali. From what we saw of him, he was quicker than Norris in quali. But yeah, I don't think we can go any higher than 3. Because he's not even been able to begin the race. No, actually, it's got to be a 2, right? Like, at the end of the day, like, we'll give him 1 point for quali, but, like, at the end of the day, like, you made a stupid mistake before the race has even started. Would you keep the same energy if it was Stroll? Probably. I mean, at the end of the day, like, it's a mistake that is pretty easy to make with these cars. But yeah. I'm not going to give him lower than a 2 because at least we saw him in quali and his performance was better than Lando. But yeah, we're knocking everything else off because of that. Qualifying, probably a 7. Race, obviously the bummer, not 100% his fault, but predominantly to blame. 4 for you. To be honest, don't even know if it's a good quali because he only just beat Lando and Lando had power unit issues. True, there is that side of things as well. Showed good pace through practice. Qualifying was a bit underwhelming based off of practice, but it was somewhat expected. Should have qualified ahead of Lando with more of a margin. Yeah, so I mean, I think qualifying, there was more room for improvement. I heard the ramped up the power during the drive-in, but he knew that, yeah. Ark above the stream, dude. Brabus' home race, yeah, is absolutely tragic. At the end of the day, like, you got to feel for him, but it is his fault for not anticipating that extra power in the car. All right, majority of you guys saying a 2 out of 10 as well. A few of you guys saying 3 and 4, and a lot of people saying 1. All right, there's a lot of people we kind of just haven't got really much to talk about because of the way their weekends went. All right, Piastri, 2 out of 10. Our way to start off the season. Next up, we have got Isaac Hadjar. What do you rate Isaac Hadjar's weekend out of 10? Get your votes in on the poll. Oh my god, too much talking now. My nose is just going to start running. Give votes in on the poll. What do you rate Isaac Hadjar's weekend out of 10? Tok Mamet Arca. Mr. Flatbread, thank you guys all for the follows. Welcome to the stream, all of you. Okay, so Hadjar in qualifying, absolutely amazing. Put it P3. Now, we don't really have a benchmark for Hadjar at the moment because, as we know, the second Red Bull seat is usually that driver is, you know, 4 to 7 tenths behind Max. So that could be a poor qualifying performance for Hadjar. At the end of the day, though, it doesn't matter. He outqualified the Ferraris, he outqualified the McLarens, and he slotted himself right in behind the Mercedes. He's done his job, regardless of how relative it is to Max. So yeah, amazing qualifying from Hadjar. Definitely a solid 9.5 for quality for Hadjar. He did absolutely amazing. To just edge the boys behind him. And we don't really know where Red Bull is in the pecking order at the moment because 1, he did break down quite early on, and 2, Max wasn't in quali. So it's kind of an unknown for where the Red Bull is. However, in the race, unfortunately, he only lasted 10 laps before his engine blew up, which is a real shame because I think he was on for a podium, and we don't really get to see what he would have achieved. You know, could he have finished P3 ahead of the Ferraris with the Ferraris shit strategy? Could he have beaten Lando? Would he got outraced by Max and Lando? We generally don't know. So for that reason, I'm going to give Hadja an inconclusive. I'm going to give Hadja an inconclusive because it wasn't enough to kind of really get a rating. And obviously, the race is where the main rating matters. But if I had to rate qualifying, again, I'd probably give him a 9 out of 10. He's on track to be doing better than Liam and Yuki. But yeah, we just need to see how it is relative to Max. And we need to see what his race pace is like because I think that's where it matters at the end of the day. I mean, still, we haven't seen that from a Red Bull driver in qualifying. Second Red Bull seat driver in qualifying for ages. So, yeah. Mr. Flatbread, Camille was like, guys. Does only the first message count for poll? Yeah, you can't change it. Not his fault. Good weekend up until that point. Yeah, exactly. That's why I'm going to give him a conclusive. Easy top 4 if he'd finished because Red Bull know how to do a strategy. Maybe. We don't know, though. We don't know. Qualifying excellent. He was so impressive. Did not think he would be this on it straight away. Had a good start, but out of energy was up there as well. I can't rate him, so inconclusive. Hey, bro, is it true that Russell kind of jumped the start? No, he jumped and then he fully stopped before it started, and he stayed within his box. That's not. It wasn't illegal at all. How's it going then, Mr. 03 Rodriguez? 5 engine failure while running a strong early in the race. His quality was amazing and race pace looked good, but I can't give a high rating if he can't finish, in my opinion. So a 6. Sup Red Panda, sup DFG. Curse Breaker, I've seen enough. Hey bro, I read that. When someone DNF starting top 3 first race, it will be an if conversation. Exactly. All right, majority of you guys saying a 8. I would agree if I was rating based off of result and stuff like that, but I'm going inconclusive because there's not enough to look at for him. All right. Next up, another retirement. We've got Valtteri Bottas. Poll is up for Valtteri. He only lasted 15 laps as well. Anyways, Bottas in qualifying. He qualified dead last, 6 tenths behind his teammate. Which is very disappointing. Very poor quality from him. And then... Fuck. Then in the race... actually, let me get the race highlights up so I can see where people were at certain points of the race. In this case, where Bottas was before he retired. Where did Bottas retire? Oh, I can't see the timing sheet, bro. Well, Bottas moved up ahead of Lawson, Alonso, Colapinto, Stroll, but have they pit yet? On lap 11, he was behind. Yeah, he was behind Perez. He got ahead of Stroll. He got ahead of Stroll. And Colapinto at a pen. So, yeah, he was still cruising behind those guys. He was on harder compound tire though. Yeah, I don't really know what to rate Bottas here. Part of me is like, I don't think much would have changed if he had stayed in the race. Like, you know, we kind of saw a little bit of his race pace. But then again, like, he only did 15 laps. Could have he outraced Perez? Could have he done something? Probably not. I don't know. Should I give it an inconclusive? Nah, I feel like it's going to be an inconclusive. Only 15 laps. But then again, I don't think we would have really learned much more if he stayed out. But it is still an F. It is still an F. I think we're going to go inconclusive because it's only 15 laps. But, yeah. If I had to rate off for quality so far, I mean, qualifying dead last. Well, actually, he didn't qualify dead last. Sainz, Stroll, and Max were worse than him, but still. Yeah, being 6 tenths off your teammate is not great. But yeah, I don't know. We'll have to see. We'll have to. I think we're just going to go inconclusive because, like, he was on a different tire as well. Maybe he could have out-race paced Perez if they're on the same tire. We just don't know. Budagon, they were the follow. Bottas is just happy to be here. He was quite far off Checo, but just to get the car out here and running is a good. Hopefully, he will improve. Probably a 4 if I had to rate based off limited information that we had, but tough to rate. 6 tenths behind is 1 lap specialist behind a teammate who relies on his qualifying the least is wild. Finnish porn star gets inconclusive. Unfortunately, that caddy is dog, so it's hard to say. Yeah, I think we're gonna really struggle to rate the Cadillac boys this year because they are literally so bad. They're literally so bad. The hell's on my beard? Yeah, I think it's gonna be really, really rough to rate the Cadillac boys each week this year. Anyways, majority of you guys saying a 4 out of 10. Yeah, very, very hard to rate. Bottas there. All right, another team that's going to be so fucking hard to rate this year. I literally cannot be bothered even talking about them. Fernando Alonso. What do you rate Alonso's weekend out of 10? Performance out of 10? Qualifying, he went out and he out-qualified Perez and Bottas, which is a great showing. But again, we don't really know where this car is. He was 7 tenths behind Franco Colapinto, but we didn't get to see him relative to his teammate. And then in the race, he did 21 laps, just kind of trundled around, had an amazing start. So honestly, if I was rating him, he'd probably get a good rating for his quali and for his race performance. But at the end of the day, like, no teammate to judge in quali and no teammate to really judge in the race, and ended up only doing 21 laps. It's going to be inconclusive for him as well. I mean, this is no point rating someone with that little of information. These guys are going to be, I mean, who cares, right? But like, it's going to be so hard to rate Aston and Cadillac this season, I think. Brandon Debon, on the stream, dude. Watched you before the on Twitch before the race last Sunday. We love to hear that. What's up, Jero? How did I not find this channel sooner? Been looking for a good F1 channel. What's up, dude? Well, welcome in. You found the spot. We go live for everything F1 related. 4 days a week when F1's on. Anything and everything F1, we are live. 5 purely on the basis of being able to do more race laps than he said he could do. 6, but maybe hard to rate. Nearly got out in Q1. Nearly got out in Q1. Yeah, exactly. I think he should be higher than that. I'm saying, for what you guys are rating Alonso right now, I think that's really harsh. Like, almost made it out of Q1 on that tractor. Had an amazing race start. Was better than the Cadillacs. Like, I don't know. I think that's really harsh if you were to rate him. But obviously, I'm not going to rate him. Majority of you guys saying 5. I completely disagree with that. A 5 for Alonso for the weekend heat with the information we have of him. That's harsh. That's harsh. But yeah, I'm not going to rate him personally. Anyways, moving on to his teammate. Fucking exact same situation, except Stroll didn't do qualifying. Yeah, didn't get to do qualifying. Didn't go out on track because he had an issue in the race. Started from last. On race start, I don't think he had as good of a race start as Alonso. Let's have a look. Nope, he was in dead last after the first couple laps. Same as Alonso, just kind of trundled around, in, out, in, out, in, out. I mean, you can't really rate him at all. So again, giving him an inconclusive. Yeah, these guys are too hard to rate, man. Should put inconclusive on the poll. Yeah, could do. He circulated. Yeah, true. Yeah, like Stroll said, he circulated. What's up, Red Panda? How's it going, dude? Yeah, maybe next week I'll add inconclusive. I think we're gonna get a lot of inconclusives. We're done with it. We're almost done with inconclusives anyway. 5 again, did a lot so-called testing during the race and more laps than he could do. Gold no practice time and couldn't even take part in quali. Yeah, true. All right, majority of you guys said a 1. Whoa, that's harsh for sure, man. All right, we're past inconclusives. Yay! First of the finishers, we have got Sergio Perez, Mr. CP himself. Poll is up. What do you rate Sergio Perez's weekend out of 10? If you're new to the stream, you want to vote in the poll, come over to the Twitch chat, type the number in chat, and it will automatically pop up on the poll. Don't blame the drivers for a bad car. They didn't build it. I just gave, like, all 6 drivers are inconclusive. How am I blaming the drivers, bro? Oh, my back is sore, bro. 4 and 5, difficult. Oh, wait, why am I reading that? All right, let's talk about Sergio's weekend. So, Sergio, in quali, he outperformed his teammate by 6 tenths, but got beaten by Alonso. But, again, we don't know how good or bad the Aston is. It just can't really do laps at the moment. So, the Cadillac is hard stuck last. So, anyways, Perez did his job, beat his teammate by 6 tenths, kept it clean. And then, in the race, you know, I don't think he really did much off the start of the race. But he finished the race and was ahead of his teammates. So, I don't know. I think Checo did his job. Obviously, no outstanding performance. I'm feeling like a 7 for Perez. Like, you know, at the end of the day, like, we can't really rate. It's hard, you know, we can't really, like, downgrade someone's rating because they are in a bad car. And we can't really up their rating because they're in a bad car. Like, But he did his job. He beat his teammate, and he was quicker than his teammate. So with the information we had, it's a 7, like a 7. He had a good weekend. You know, he had a good weekend. He kept the car. He didn't crash the car. He did all the laps he needed to, and he beat his teammate. It's got to be a 7 for me. It's got to be a 7. AV Link, what does that do? Villy as well, one on the stream. There's only the first number you write count. Yeah, only the first one you type in chat counts. Proud to see him finish the race and had a nice little fight with Liam. Oh, wait, I didn't even think about the Liam fight. Wait. He battled Liam. Now, I actually think, surprisingly, he did a good job with Liam. Well, okay, he pushed Liam off track, but again, Checo didn't get a penalty for that, so it's not like Checo did anything inherently wrong according to the racing rules from the FIA. And then he got overtaken by Liam, but like Liam is in a much faster car. Maybe you could argue it wasn't worth Perez's fighting Liam, knowing that Liam was in a faster car. But still, like, it was nice to see Checo actually racing a car much faster than him, even though it was a bit messy. So yeah, I'm still sticking with a 7 for Perez. I completely forgot that happened though, my bad. -1 for the Lawson antics. I mean, if he got penned for it, yes, but he didn't. So I don't mind it, to be honest. You think it was kind of pointless? Yeah, that's fair. 5, the race was difficult and he had some incidents due to his fault. If he kept it clean, yeah. Am I being too kind to Checo here? Maybe 6.5 then for the antics, like risking his race with a driver who's faster. We'll go 6.5. How does caddy even get approved if it just falls apart on the track? Stop using paper for your nose. Use a cloth fabric. Nah, man. I'm using paper towel. That's all I've got, man. That's all I've got. All right. Majority of you guys saying 6 for Perez. So we agree on that. All right. Next up, we have got the Williams boys. Sorry, one of the Williams boys. We got Carlos Sainz. Poll is up for Carlos. Get your votes in on the poll. Okay, so Carlos didn't participate in qualifying because of the issue that he had, which is a real shame. I would have liked to have seen how he could have done relative to Albon, but Albon only just barely scraped out of Q1. In the race, however, Sainz managed to finish in P15, obviously ahead of Checo, as you'd expect. But yeah, he finished behind Colapinto, he finished behind Liam, and he finished behind his teammate. He actually finished quite far down on his teammate, if I'm not mistaken. He finished a minute down. Over a minute down. What the fuck? On his teammates. So yeah, a bit of a poor one from Sainz. What was the reason he finished a minute down? Was that just from being lapped, or like that seems excessive? Yeah, he finished 28 seconds behind Colapinto, who finished 37 seconds behind Liam, who finished just 10th down behind. Sorry, half a second behind L1. I think most of these are going to be a 5. Carlos had many issues and had to pit. Oh, did he? 5, disappointing considering how much they've talked up to 2026 the last couple of years. 5, he was so unimportant, very forgettable in the race. Slower than Albon in the race, but had some slow pit stops which cost him massively. I don't know. How do you guys know that shit? I don't remember seeing that. Yeah, well, I don't know. I don't really know what to rate him. Part of me is like, I want to give him inconclusive, but no, he finished the race. Yeah, nothing to go off of in qualifying, which is a shame. But yeah, it looks like in the race, he kind of struggled with race pace, maybe dealing with a few problems. I don't know. I feel like 5 is harsh considering he didn't do quali and he had problems in the race. So maybe a 6. Like, he didn't really do anything wrong from what I remember. Did he do anything wrong? He had like 45-second pit stop, if I recall correctly. Right. Yeah, part of me is like I want to give him inclusive, but yeah. We'll just go 6. We'll just go 6 for just like, he did nothing wrong. He got fucked in quali. We can't really compare him to his teammate too much. He finished the weekend without any crashes, so we'll give it a 6. We'll give it a 6, I guess. But that's a shame that like Sainz is starting off a season with an average rating and it's not really his fault, but we have to rate him. We have to rate him because he did finish the race. All right, majority of you guys said a 5. All right, I feel like we're almost to the drivers. Actually, I think we are now to the drivers that we can actually rate properly. We got Franco Colapinto. What do you rate Franco's weekend out of 10? Get your votes in on the poll. If you're just tuning the stream, if you want to vote on the poll, come over to Twitch chat, type in Twitch chat, the number, and it'll pop up on the poll. Max Verstappen and Miles the Great, thank you guys for the follows. All right, Franco. So Franco in quali, he got out-qualified by his teammate by 7/10, which isn't great. He also got out-qualified by Albon, who, I don't know, it's hard to tell if Alpine or Williams is the slower car, but Gasly qualified ahead of Albon, so I don't know why Franco couldn't have. So yeah, pretty disappointing qualifying from Colapinto. You know, 7/10 is a lot. Yes, again, it's the first race of the season. He's learning the car. I get it. I'm not saying he's bad. It's just like, we're rating the performance, and 7/10 off your teammate isn't great. Then in the race, he finished ahead of Sainz, who started behind him. But he finished behind Liam, who had a shocking start, and he finished behind Albon, despite his teammate finishing in the points. He actually finished 37, 57. He finished a minute behind his teammate. Yikes. Yeah, I think I'm going to have to give Colapinto a 4 here. You know, it's an underwhelming weekend, being 7/10 behind your teammate in quali and a minute down in the race. Also finishing behind a couple drivers I think he probably shouldn't have finished behind, specifically Liam and Albon, despite considering where Gasly finished. Yeah, I think they didn't crash, but very, very slow. So I'm going to go 4 for Colapinto. I had a stop and go 30-second pen for something that wasn't. Oh, true. Actually, okay. Yeah, no, you're right. He did get a 30-second stop and go. Oh, there's too much. You guys are see. This is why I like doing ratings with you guys, because you guys remind me of stuff that I forgot about. So yeah, he did get a 30-second stop and go for something that his team caused him. So maybe it's a 5. Maybe it's a 5. But still, if you remove the 30-second stop and go, he's still finishing 30 seconds behind Gasly. And still 7/10 down in quali. So maybe it's a 4.5. Colapinto and go. Yeah, the Colapinto and go. Carl Ramdane. There you go. The follows. Yeah, I'm going to stick to a 4.5. It's below average. 7/10 off in quali. 30 seconds behind your teammate in the race, despite, even if you get rid of the pen, like, yeah. After that, you'd just be considering it testing. Yeah, true. Yeah, I'm gonna go 4.5. Majority of you guys saying a 5 though. Some of you guys saying 6 and 7. Interesting. All right. Oh, we might have our first controversial rating of the season. Liam Lawson. What do you rate Liam Lawson's weekend out of 10? First off, qualifying. Liam had an amazing qualifying. Best of the rest. P8. Out-qualified his teammate by 1.3 seconds. What happened to Arvid, by the way, what happened to Arvid on his qualifying lap? Why did Liam out-qualify by 1.3 seconds? Did he make a mistake? Car issue? Arvid had an ERS issue. Damn, okay. Anyways, Liam qualified best of the rest. You love to see that. Now, obviously, Arvid had an issue. Bortoletto had an issue, so we didn't really get to see him in comparison to those two. But still, made it to Q3 and beat his teammate, which, you know, you love to see. I feel like Liam didn't get enough props for being best of the rest. I feel like when Behrman gets best of the rest, it's like... But then when Liam gets best of the rest, no one gives a fuck. But the V-Carb is a car that should be in the best of the rest position. So it's nothing too crazy, but still, he did his job. Then, in the race, unfortunately, he had a bad start. Now, this is where I think people's opinions for Liam's rating are going to differ, right? Do you consider that a driver error? He was the only driver on the grid who had a bad start, despite everyone or a lot of people having the problem with not getting the battery in their energy system. Or do you look at it and go, okay, the reason he didn't start properly was because of a battery issue, because he didn't get enough battery powered up over the formation lap, and that's a car issue. you know, it depends how you look at it. I'm kind of in the middle. I'm kind of like, well, it is a problem at the end of the day, but everyone on the grid had the same problem as far as I'm aware. Charles said he only had 20% in his battery. You know, Mercedes said they had 0. The Red Bulls both said they had 0, and the team said they had 0. So everyone was dealing with the same issue of like they couldn't get enough battery in their enough energy in their battery. But Liam was the only one that had a bad start. So I think I'm obviously leaning more towards that being Liam's fault with the information that I have. And then that obviously ended up costing him good results in the race. Obviously, Arvid finished in P8. Liam finished down in P13. Specifically, he actually finished 27, 33, 43. He finished 44 seconds behind his teammate as well, which is not great. And he also had the run-in with Checo, which I think he was, I'm not going to lie, I think he was optimistic going for the move around the outside of Checo. And Checo didn't end up getting a pen for it. So I think the stewards agree with me on that Liam was optimistic there. And then when he went for the overtake past Perez, he decided to touch him going past, which I think is risky business. So yeah, I'm not going to lie, like Liam's qualifying was good. I think Liam's shown that if he doesn't have a problem, like, he seems decent or good in this car, but yeah, the race start combined with his antics with Checo, I don't think warrant him a high rating. So I'm feeling like a 5 probably on this one. Like, I think the race is like I don't know. I feel like the race is like a 3, but we bump it up 2 because of being best of the rest in quali. Forecast, thank you so much for the sub, dude. I appreciate you coming in with a tier 1. Thank you, man, for subbing for the very first time. You don't start with a battery. Oh, guys, Stefan in YouTube chat has just told us that they don't use the battery to start an F1, guys. Should I believe Stefan? Or should I believe the 22 F1 drivers who start the cars? 5 difficult pace-wise in comparison to Gasly. Wait, no, that was back to Colapinto. Shit start. Shit race, but I love Liam. How do you shit the bed at the start? What do you mean, how do you shit the bed at the start? 6, Lawson avoided incidents and penalties. Held solid consistency lap times and didn't make major mistakes. 5, because he really shouldn't have fought Perez for that long. Starting further back made it difficult to get points. Blood almost killed our beloved Colapinto. Liam is somewhat to blame for the start, not predominantly. He had a whole race to make up for it. I mean, that as well. He had a whole race to make up for it and couldn't. 6, poor pace in the race, however, was quick in quality, so it balances out for a 6. Was slow all session compared to Lindblad all weekend, however. 30-second stop and go isn't plus 30, but like 45. True, King Val. True. Perez is far more aggressive than people think. Liam should have been aware. He knows what he's talking about. Correct if I'm wrong, but battery kicks in at 50 kilometers per hour, right? To be honest, I don't 100% know how it works, but I know that they need enough battery in the tank to be able to launch to get the turbo going, right? Did you see the Liam rally car video I did? Bro was a beast in that. All right, I'm gonna give Liam a 5. You know, quality was good. Race was disappointing. He needs to tidy up that mistake that he made. But I'm sure he'll learn from it. All right, majority of you guys send 4 and 5. A split rating there. All right, next up we have got Alex Albon. Would you rate Albon out of 10? Get your votes in on the poll. Okay, Albon in quality qualified P15. He outqualified Colapinto, but couldn't outqualify Gasly. It's kind of hard to tell where the Williams is at the moment. Was it a good thing that he outqualified Colapinto, or was it a bad thing that he didn't outqualify Gasly? Who knows? Sainz didn't participate in qualifying either, so it's kind of hard to judge Albon from that. So yeah, I'm not really sure, to be honest. However, in the race, he managed to obviously outrace his teammate, stay ahead of Colapinto despite Gasly being in the points, and even beat Liam. And he only finished, he finished 26 seconds behind Ocon in the Haas. So yeah, I don't really know. Is that good from Williams? From Albon? Did he do a good job relative to his teammate and the cars around him, or should have he been up there fighting with Gasly? It's really, really hard to tell. This is what makes ratings really hard, is because You could argue that that's a 7 out of 10 weekend, 8 out of 10 weekend because he did his job. Or you could argue that was kind of poor for Williams. So, yeah, it's hard. It's hard. AKT Pain. Thank you for the follow. Did anyone else notice him on the grid? They won't charge in the battery, but for after launch, for the launch, they need to spool up the turbo. Williams in No Man's Land album was quite anonymous, but faster than Signs by the looks of it, sold 7. You have no voice, bro. Yeah, I know it's tough. Every time I get sick, it's right before a Grand Prix weekend, so then I'm just fucked. But like I got those shooter, bro. Extracted the most he could in that race, but hard to judge. I'll give him a 6, 7, 5, 6. Williams looked to be the third worst, far ahead of Aston and Caddy, but so far behind the rest of the midfield. You reckon they're slower than Alpine? I feel like they're quicker than Alpine. I don't know. I think I'm gonna give Albon a 6. I think there's an argument that he could be a 7, but I think there's also an argument he could be a 5. So I'm gonna go in the middle and just go 6. Yeah, I think Albon's had an okay weekend. It's just hard to really judge. Yeah. Maybe a 6.5 because he's a bit in Colbin, so I don't know. We'll go 6. We'll go 6. Majority of you guys send 6 as well. All right. Next up, we've got Mr. I don't have the same car as my teammate. Esteban Ocon. Poll is up. What do you rate Esteban Ocon's weekend out of 10? Get your votes in. Lewis, leave the follow. He said that. Did you not hear his interview? Go on the F1 YouTube channel. He said, it's so weird. Same as last year. I'm not getting the same car as Behrman. One car's stable and the other car's not. Anyways, Ocon in qualifying. He got out-qualified by 1/10 by his teammate. Not bad. It was nice to see them two close together, and they qualified exactly where he should be. So, yeah, he's done his job in qualifying. Just didn't do as good of a job as his teammate. So, yeah, I'd give him like a 7, I guess, in quali. Like, did his job, but was behind his teammate. Had more room to improve. And they were only a few milliseconds off of Hulkenberg and Bortoletto. So, there's an argument that he could have made Q3. In the race, however, Ocon finished way down behind his teammate. He actually finished 23 seconds behind his teammate, so could have done better in that sense. Finished behind Gasly outside the points. He should be beating the Alpine, in my opinion. And with how good Behrman looked in the race, I think he should have done better. But still, not a bad race from Ocon. I think he was pretty decent. So I'm thinking like a 6.5. I think did his job in quali. Was underwhelming in the race, but wasn't bad. Maybe it is a 6. Maybe it is a 6. No, actually, I think it's a 6. I don't know why I was tripping with that. Because at the end of the day, we gave L1 a 6. But that's because we couldn't rate him to his teammate. Ocon was worse than his teammate. Maybe there's even an argument for a 5. Like, his teammate's gotten 7th, and he's finished 11th. Despite starting next to each other. Yeah, actually, I think this is even lower. Like, his teammate got 1, 2, 4, 6 points. And he got no points. He finished behind an Alpine. Yeah. I think it's actually quite average for Ocon. I think quali makes up for it, but he didn't do anything with that qualifying. Wait, where did he quali? He qualified P11 and he finished P11 despite someone retiring in front of him. And Liam dropping back. He got overtaken by Gasly and Max. Yeah. Yeah, that's an average weekend at best, now that I think about it. Ocon was stuck with Gasly in that battle. He should have got through. Fucking Behrman didn't sit around long. Yeah, but the half second seat equals Red Bull's second seat. No, that's fucking Albon. Albon's starting that propaganda, bro. All right, majority of you guys said a 6 out of 10 for Ocon. All right, we move on to the top 10 now. The first of the point sitters, and very good weekend for this man, Pierre Gasly. What do you rate Gasly's weekend out of 10? Get your votes in on the poll. If you're just tuning on in, we're doing our driver ratings like we do every single Monday after a Grand Prix. Get your votes in on the poll. To do so, come over to Twitch chat and type in Twitch chat, and it will pop up on the poll for you guys. All right. Gasly in qualifying, he qualified P14. He out-qualified Albon. He out-qualified his teammate by 7/10, and was only a few milliseconds behind the Haas boys. Honestly, really, really good. I was not expecting the Alpine to make it out of Q1. Obviously, with the problems everyone else had, he did, and he made the most of it. And he almost out-qualified the Haas. So, honestly, I think it's a 9 out of 10 for quali. He did his job, and you know, he could have even done even better, which is insane. So, yeah, well done for Gasly. Again, maybe it's not as high. Maybe not. Maybe it wouldn't be as high if we actually knew where the Alpine was. But where the Alpine is in my head, I think he's done an amazing job. Then, in the race, he's managed to move up 4 positions to finish in 10th. He went ahead of Ocon. Yeah, went ahead of Ocon. He completely outraced his teammate. He obviously beat Liam, who had a problem. And he's gone on a point. He's gone on a point on a weekend. I did not expect Gasly to be getting a point. And he finished 16 seconds behind Bortoleto and Lindblad, but held off Ocon. Yeah, honestly, I think it's a solid 8.5 weekend. I'm not going to give him anything higher because, again, maybe there's a little bit more room in quali, and it was kind of hard to judge him relative to his teammate because his teammate sucks. But yeah, I think it's a solid 8.5 for Gasly. Part of me is also like, maybe it's a 9. But with the amount of retirements and stuff happening, he probably wouldn't have got a point if it wasn't for all that. But still, he capitalized when he needed to. So solid 8.5 for me. Metal Mania, what is up, dude? Element, hello. If Alpine don't improve this year, Gasly 100% going elsewhere, you reckon? Where's he going to go, though? Where's he going to go? Gasly's solid, but where's he going to go? All right, majority of you guys saying 7. That's so low. That is so low for the drive that Gasly had this weekend. Like, you gotta remember, he's in a poo car, and he did really, really well. I disagree. I disagree on the 7 out of 10. All right. Next up, we got another great drive. We got Gabriel Bortoleto. Get your votes in on the poll. Is it a poo car? I mean, yeah. If it was as poo as I think it is, I would have given him, sorry, because we don't know how poo he is, poo the car is, I can't go higher than that. Can't go higher than 8.5. Oh, my fucking nose, bro. All right. Bortoleto. So, Bortoleto, in qualifying, he out-qualified Hulkenberg by 1/10. Yeah, he qualified exactly where he should be, and he didn't get to show himself in Q3, unfortunately, because of the issue. So it would have been nice to see him up against Arvid and Liam. There's a world where he might have even qualified P8. He would have at the very least out-qualified Arvid because Arvid had a shit quali. Yeah, into Q3, out-qualified his teammate, amazing. I'd give him a 9 out of 10 for quali. And then in the race, managed to move up a position because of Liam's mistake. I don't think he would have finished higher than this, to be honest. I think the V-Carb and the Haas definitely look better on race pace. And he finished right behind Lindblad. So, yeah, I'm honestly thinking a 9 out of 10. You know, let's knock off 0.5 for quali because he maybe... well, actually, you can't knock off anything for quality because he broke down. So who knows? But yeah, in the race, I think maybe this award he could have finished ahead of Arvid. And we didn't get to compare him to his teammate in the race either. But still, very solid weekend. 9 out of 10 for Bortoleto. You love to see it. You love to see it. Be careful when standing. Wait, why be careful when standing up? Join Twitch for this? Hell yeah. Had his first Q3, first points, amazing. A couple more laps, could have easily got P8, maybe P7. That is probably too optimistic. Yeah, I would have gave Gabriel a 9, first place in Q3 and first points in Audi's solid race. I have Audi, V-Carb, Haas as the better midfield teams after the race with Alpine. Oh, no, 100%. We didn't see full potential in Q3, but that was fast. Great race and was less than a second behind Lindblad at the end, so an 8. If quality was better, it would be a 9. Well, rating is performance, so you can't knock down his quality because it wasn't his fault. All right, majority of you guys saying a 9 as well for Bortoleto, so we agree on that. Honestly, the ratings have been pretty good so far, other than, nah, we've kind of agreed for everyone. You guys were a bit harsh on Gasly, but yeah. All right, next up, we have got the man, the myth, the legend, Arvid Lindblad on debut. What do you rate Arvid? Out of 10, get your votes in on the poll. Now, Arvid made it through to Q3 on debut. Now, he did get out-qualified by his teammate, apparently because of an issue he had with his car. But yeah, qualified P9. Again, didn't really get to see him up against Bortoletto because Bortoletto had an issue. He had an issue himself, so I wasn't able to see him up against Liam. But still, he did his job. He made it to Q3. Amazing stuff. And then in the race, started well. Actually started amazingly. Unlike Liam. I don't know where that name came out of my mouth. Unlike Liam, he actually started the car, saved his battery very nicely, and then got past 3 drivers on the opening lap to get up into the podium position. Amazing stuff. He then raced Max very aggressively. Some people might argue that was a waste of time doing that against Max, but I would argue it wasn't, because we didn't know how good the Red Bull was at racing, and no one was battling Max up until that point. They were just letting Max through. And the second Arvid got his cock out and started using his battery nicely, Max started to struggle. And I thought that was amazing to see from Arvid. Unfortunately, Arvid did end up, I think, using up too much tires from all of this and did drop behind Behrman. I think he managed his battery poorly against Behrman, so there is something to work on. If I was rating him as a rookie, I think it's a very, very solid, like, 10 performance. But if I was, or let's say 9.5. But obviously, I just rate solely off of the result, solely off of the performance. I don't take rookie bias into it. And at the end of the day, he did kind of fuck up against Behrman and cooked his tires. Bortoletto almost beat him at the end of the race as well. So there is something to improve on. And also, we didn't get to see him relative to Liam. Like, for all we know, him finishing behind Behrman shouldn't have happened. And that was his race pace being bad. But because Liam was nowhere, we didn't really get to see that. Either way, a fucking amazing debut from Arvid. Amazing to get the car through to Q3. Amazing race start. Good race pace. Should have done better. I am thinking, I don't know if I should be if it's a 9 or an 8.5. I feel like Lindblad finished lower than what he should have, whereas Gasly finished higher than what he should have. And that's why I'm feeling like he should be rated the same as Gasly. I think if I was taking, it's his first race, it's his debut, it's a 9.5, 100%. But the way I do my ratings, it's solely performance. And I think there was more room in that race. I don't think he should have finished behind Behrman. I think he should have been finishing higher than he did against Bortoletto. I don't know if it should be 8.5 or a 9 though. Either way, my driver of the weekend, my driver of the day, FP1 fucking smashed it. FP2 smashed it. FP3 on it. Qualifying, made Q3. Points on debut. Generally, the only thing he did wrong was finish behind Behrman. We'll go 9. We'll go 9. Oh, but that's me taking the rookie bias into it, man. That's me taking the rookie bias into it. But yeah, definitely my driver of the weekend. This is the most 9.5 to 9.5 ever. I disagree. We didn't get to see him in quali, and he could have done better in the race. But as a rookie, it was amazing. One of the best debuts I've seen. So impressive. Looked so good all weekend. P3 at the start and didn't look like a rookie at all. You know what? We'll give him a 9 just because he got his cock out against Max. And he was P3 on the first lap. Lesson of the weekend. Drivers should get their dick out more. Exactly. I think Arvid will be really quick this year. But will be inconsistent. The cars, if managed correctly, can become drastically competitive. His first race, Lamau, it's a 9, at least probs a 10. No, but you're taking bias into it. You're taking the bias into it that it's his first race. Rookie bias would be a 10. I've seen enough. Maxed out Lindblad and Hedge of Red Bull by Japan. I also think Arvid and Liam will be closely matched. Yeah, I mean, this is exactly what I predicted in the teammate head-to-head. I said Liam will be the better driver, but Liam needs to sort out his qualifying. However, Liam sorted out his qualifying, but then made the mistake of the race. But I think Arvid's going to be very much on it this year. All right. We'll settle for a 9 for Arvid. But maybe that's me being too kind right now. But, yeah, majority of you guys say 9 as well for Arvid. Yeah, what a weekend. Again, my driver of the weekend. Next up, we have got best of the rest, Ollie Behrman. This man right here. This man, I hope he gets the Ferrari seat. next year. I hope he gets the Ferrari seat. Well, it depends on how Lewis does, but I hope they don't just keep Lewis because it's Lewis. I hope they generally look at Behrman as a talent and give this man an opportunity because he is so fucking good. From the moment he stepped in Saudi to replace Sainz, to his fill-in race for Magnussen and Baku, to last season annihilating Ocon and the results he had, to now his debut in the new era of cars. He's just so good, man. He's just so good. I rate Behrman a lot. Anyways, to talk about Behrman's weekend, Behrman qualified P12. I think that was the best he could have done with the Haas. He outqualified his teammate by a 10th, and he was behind the Audis and the V-Cubs, which I think were quicker. Now, again, maybe he could have been quicker than the Audis. He was only a few milliseconds off. Maybe he could have got a little bit more out of his lap. So, yeah, we'll give him a 9 for quali, but I think there was room to maybe do a little bit better. However, in the race, amazing. Worked through the field so nicely. Finished, what was it again? 23 seconds ahead of his teammate. Breezed past Lindblad and finished not only best of the rest, but comfortably best of the rest ahead of Lindblad. Didn't really make any mistakes in the race. You know, to think Lindblad was P3 at one point and Behrman finished ahead of him, like, that is amazing. Amazing work from Behrman. Yeah, I think it's a 9 out of 10. I've either got to give Behrman a 9.5 or I'm going to drop Lindblad down to 8.5 because Behrman and Lindblad shouldn't be the same rating. At the end of the day, Behrman finished ahead of Lindblad in a faster car. Behrman finished ahead of Lindblad in a slower car. I think I'm going to go Ollie 9 and then Lindblad 8.5, I think. But then again, what did Behrman do wrong? Nah, you know what? We'll go 9.5. We're feeling generous today. I'm going to go 9.5 for Behrman. Obviously, it wasn't a perfect weekend because of quali. Again, I think he maybe could have made Q3. But yeah, he did his job in quali. Beat his teammate. And, you know, the race, the most important part, he was best of the rest, comfortably best of the rest. I'm going to go 9.5. Amazing from Ollie, man. Ben will be replacing Charles when he goes to Alpine. Okay. 56 people chose him on fantasy. Brilliant performance in the race and quality was good as well. Haas looked 5th quickest in your opinion. He almost jumped at the start when the blue light for the pre-start. Yeah, I saw. Is that what it was? It was the blue light? That's funny. All right. Majority of you guys saying a 9 out of 10 as well. All right, we are on to the big boys now. I think this is where it will get the most controversial. We'll see. I mean, we've been pretty agreeing so far. The rating's actually been pretty easy today. I thought it'd be way harder than this. We have got Max Verstappen. What do you rate Max's weekend out of 10 performance-wise? Get your votes in on the poll. Now, this is a tough one. So, obviously, qualifying, mechanical issue, no fault of his own. We're not rating him for qualifying. He started P20. However, in the race, he managed to move up 14 positions to finish in P6. Amazing drive. Now, we didn't get to see how good this Red Bull actually was because Hadja broke down on lap 10. The Red Bull, for all we know, could be the second best car on the grid. And it was expected for him to finish in P6, which, to be honest, with how spread the big boys are to the midfield right now, I think P6 isn't anything too crazy for Max, especially with the chaos that happened, the retirements, and the VSCs and stuff like that. Like, you know, I love Max, and I think he had an amazing race, but I don't think his result is anything amazing. Like, I think that's kind of where I was expecting him to finish, to be honest, before the race started. But he did a good job of recovering, because I don't think many drivers would be able to do that. However, I do think he should have got past Lando. I think he was on fresher tires. Not on a softer compound, but he was on fresher tires. And I was a bit disappointed by his lack of pace or lack of battery management to be able to get past Lando. I think he should have finished P5. But again, we don't know. Maybe the Red Bull is the 4th worst car in race pace. We just don't know because Hadja wasn't in the race. So yeah, it's a bit of a hard one to rate, to be honest. I think considering where he started, because it wasn't his fault, I must say an 8. But I do think it's not like a, whoa, he blew me away with where he finished. It was just like he's done a really good job of recovering to where I think where he should have finished. But I do think he should have beaten Lando. So I'm thinking an 8, maybe an 8.5. Yeah. Nothing impressive. Was stuck behind Lando. Had slower race pace. Would have been a 10 if he got Lando. 9, massive recovery drive through the field. 8.8, you reckon? What's up deep in his cups? Okay. He should bear everyone he got past, I think. He pretty much just drove up to where he should have been. Yeah, just a basic 7. 5, he only passed cars that were 2 seconds slower than 5? 5? He had battery issues. We forgot about him in the race. I think it's an 8. He looked quicker than Lando, but couldn't pass. The gaps in the midfield is too big to be more generous. The Rebel was shredding those tires. Maximum performance, perfect execution, racecraft, outperforming his teammate. Then a driver deserves a 10. At the end of the day, he got past all the cars much slower, which he should do, to be honest. Yeah, when he came up against a car that had comparable pace to his, he got stuck, so an 8. He himself said it's easy to overtake 2 seconds slower cars, yeah. Yeah, I think we'll leave it at an 8. I think we'll leave it at an 8. I think it's hard to give him a higher rating than an 8 when 1, we didn't see how he'd do in quali. 2, we can't compare him to his teammate. 3, the only car that was comparable that he got up against, he struggled with. I think it's an 8. But an 8 for a good recovery. He even punched the wheel when he was behind Lando. All right, majority of you guys saying an 8 as well. I think put it this way, I think if Max started 6th and finished 6th, it would be a lower rating. But the fact that he recovered to 6th and was still keeping up with Lando, I think that's an 8. I think that makes sense. 8. Sorry, A. Thank you for the follow. All right. Speaking of Lando, we are up to Lando. What do you guys rate Lando out of 10? Get your votes in on the poll. Oh my god, I'm dying now. Give me a sec. Give me a sec. All right. Look, I think Lando had a very mediocre weekend as a whole. Now, obviously, we don't rate practices, but he looked off the pace in practice sessions. Now, qualifying, he got out-qualified by his teammate by a 10th. Now, some people argue he had damage. He would have beaten Oscar if he didn't have damage, which could be true. Anyways, he got out-qualified by his teammate by 1/10. He did beat Lewis, though, which I think was a great effort. I don't know. It's really hard to tell where that McLaren is at the moment. Part of me wants to say it's the 4th best car, and he still beat Max, and he still beat Lewis in quali. But at the same time, like, I don't know. It's hard to tell. Either way, he got beaten by his teammate in qualifying. He did a good job beating Lewis. I think he's kind of qualified where I expected him to be. So, yeah, it's a good quality. It's a good quality from Lando, a decent quality from Lando. However, in the race, he finished 40 seconds behind the guys in front, which, again, it's hard to tell where this McLaren is at the moment, but Max went from 20th to 6th and finished right behind Lando. Should Max have finished ahead of Lando? Yes. So Lando's done a good job of finishing ahead of Max, but the fact that Max moved through the field, had all that traffic, and then finished right behind Lando, I don't think is a good sign for Lando. I think he really struggled in pace this weekend. Also, we don't have anyone to compare Lando to because Oscar crashed out in the first lap. So yeah, with the knowledge that I have on Lando, I think it was a pretty like mediocre weekend, if I'm being honest. Like it was not mediocre. It was just like behind his teammate in quali, but at least he beat Lewis. And then nowhere near the leaders in the race, but at least he beat Max, but he was slow. So I don't know. I'm thinking like a 7, but it's so hard. It's so hard. Like, yeah. Air MCR, thank you for the follow. I'm thinking a 7, but I don't know. I'll see what you guys say and then judge it from that. Can't believe people are saying 8. Yes, definitely not an 8. Good race pace, but lacked the speed to challenge the top 4, 7.5. Dude did nothing at all, and y'all give him 8. I mean, this is the thing, right? Where Lando finished... where Lando finished is where I expect the McLaren to be. Behind Ferrari and Mercedes. 40 seconds off, though. I don't know if that's where the McLaren is. I don't think it's 40 seconds slower. But then he beat Max. But then again, he should be beating Max when Max is starting that low. So I do think it was. I do think it was an underwhelming week. I think it was the result he got is what he should have got in the McLaren. I think the performance was bad though. I think the performance was worse than what he should have got. He had issues every practice, including quality and in the race. He literally lost 2/10 in the final sector due to a broken wing. People giving 8 and 9 are hella biased. Red Bull is quicker than McLaren for sure. Oscar will be faster, so he's 6 at best. Boring for him. Lando had many problems in practice, which didn't help. Yeah, true. I mean, Lando's car has just been breaking on the entire weekend. I mean, yeah, it was a tough weekend for Lando for sure. A 7 is really fair, to be honest. Umbrist, what is up? I'm the stream's up. Frick. That McLaren is a shitbox. Lol, they're draggy again. Piastri would have dunked on Norris 100%. Yeah, but we can't go, what if it crashed on the first lap? McLaren only just got the full spec of the Burke Edge this weekend. I don't think McLaren is 4th best, at least in Oz. I agree. Frick, Swaggy Dylan, I think he has the follows. I think I'm going to keep it 7. I think it's hard to rate because of his teammate being out. He beat Lewis in quali, and he had damage in quali, which wasn't his fault. So it's a bit of an unknown of quali. So, yeah. Race, he got the result he should have got, but he was a little bit slower than the guys at the front that we thought. But we don't have his teammate to compare him to. But he did beat Max. I think I'm going to have to go 7. But I think if one of these little moments, either in quali or the race, were different, such as if Piastri was in the race, or Max didn't start and last, or whatever, I think this could be a very different rating. But with the information we have, I think I'm going to keep it at a 7, to be honest. Majority of you guys saying 7 as well, but a lot of people saying 8. I really disagree on an 8, and I even disagree on a 6 as well. I think like 7 is very much Lando's rating for that weekend. All right, next up we have got Unk himself, Lewis Hamilton. What do you rate Lewis out of 10? Get your votes in on the poll. If you're just tuning into the stream, guys, we are doing our driver ratings for the Australian Grand Prix. If you watch on YouTube or Twitch, come join us. Sorry, YouTube or TikTok, come join us on Twitch, twitch.tv/Ponden. That is where you can vote on the poll. Oh my god, my nose, bro. My nose is getting bad now. All right, Lewis, in quali. I'm not gonna lie, it was a bit of a disappointing qualifying. He was only a 10th behind Charles, which I think for Lewis's standards right now in qualifying, this is a good qualifying to only be a 10th behind Charles. However, that 10th cost him Piastri and Norris. Now, if Piastri had have actually started the race, I think Lewis wouldn't have had the race that he had. But again, woulda, coulda, shoulda. If we don't know, because Piastri did crash in the end. But yeah, a 10th behind Charles. It's good for Lewis's standards, but still, 1/10 cost him 2 positions. So not a great qualifying from Lewis, if I'm being completely real. However, in the race, he managed to get past Lando and get right up in past Kimi and up with the leaders straight away. And kept great pace on Charles. Typical Lewis, amazing race pace. And because of the race start, shut up, TikTok. Because of the race start and because of because of the race start, he was able to keep up with Leclerc, and yeah, it's good to see. It's good to see Lewis kind of back to not amazing form, but like back to a good amount of form. Again, needs to tidy up that quality, but still, he managed to finish 4th in the race, right behind Charles. At the end of the day, it's a good weekend for Lewis, but slower than his teammate in quali, slower than his teammate in the race, got out qualified by 2 cars slower than him. Ferrari kind of fucked up that race for both their drivers, but I still think they would have finished here anyway. I don't know. I feel like it's a 7 for Lewis. Like, I don't know. I feel like that's a 7 weekend. Like, did his job, put the car where it should be, but was slower than his teammate and got out qualified by 2 cars that were slower. And at the end of the day, like, he should be beating his teammate, I think. And I think he's lucky. I think he's lucky that Hadja and Max weren't in this race. Because I think his qualifying position would have fucked him a little bit. But I don't know. Again, it's if. Again, I think very similar to Lando. If there was another driver, if there was a situation different in this race, I think Lewis would be getting a different rating because, I mean, at the end of the day, like, Leclerc was, I don't know. The other thing I want to say about Lewis is he was just way too careful on the opening lap. Like, Leclerc was in there. Lindblad was in there. And Lewis was just kind of like, typical Lewis fashion. And that's why he's, one of the drivers with the least amount of retirements. And then even when he was racing, when Russell and Leclerc were battling, he still was just being way too careful. Yeah, I think it's 7 out of 10 for Lewis. But what are you guys saying? Oh, I'm seeing disagreement in chat. It should be higher. Why should Lewis's rating be higher, though? He got out-qualified by 2 cars slower than him. And he finished behind his teammate. Which, again, it's not a bad result. But, like, everyone else gets rated against their teammate. And now Lewis Hamilton, 7-time champion. It's, like, good if he's finishing behind his teammate? Nah, man. We've got to rate him just like any other driver. He got beaten by his teammate. Ferrari cooked their race chance of top 2. I still think they would have finished where they did, and that's why I'm saying Lewis got a good result. Lewis had massive battery issues in Q3. 8.5 better race pace than Charles. Lewis had battery issues in Q3 too, by the way. Oh my god. How many did the whole fucking grid get battery issues in Q3? Is he sick? He sounds sick. I'll let you take a guess on that one. Why wouldn't it show the average rating? Now, Piastri wouldn't change anything. He was fighting at the top after turn 1. Red flag fucked the whole energy deployment strategy. Both Ferrari had issues and were faster than McLaren. I'm going to get chills when he gets a podium this weekend. He's not just, I'm telling you right now, he's not just getting a podium this weekend. He's winning this weekend. He is winning this weekend. He was quicker than Charles in the race. Well, why didn't he beat him then? Why didn't he beat Charles in the race then? Lewis is quicker than Charles in the race. Why didn't he beat him? Why didn't he beat him? If he was quicker than Charles, why didn't he beat him? He was on his ass on lap 4. Bro was quicker than... Bro forgot he was 6/10 behind Charles in the end. So why didn't he qualify ahead of him then? Maybe if he didn't qualify 2 positions lower than Leclerc, he would have beat him. Maybe if he wasn't so careful on lap 1 and lap 4, he would have beat him. You guys always have this if. You guys always have this but for Lewis. And it's like, but what if it was the other way? Why are you not acknowledging his battery issue in Q3? I didn't even know he had a battery issue in Q3. Lewis closed down 8-second gap to Leclerc on the final stint. Max got battery issues in lap 1. Ratings are obviously biased. No point of watching. All right, peace out, dude. He almost getting a podium, but ran out of laps. To be fair, yeah, I think he would have actually got a podium if there's a few more laps. Or, how about this? He would have got a podium if he had qualified higher. And that's so funny to me. It's so funny to me that Lewis can qualify 3 positions behind his teammate, behind 2 cars slower, and the Lewis fans in chat are, he would have got a podium if there was more laps. He would have got a fucking podium if he out-qualified his teammate. Literally makes no sense. Outperform car limitations relative to teammate, excellent experience, time management, consistency. What's up, Brody? P7 to P3 should be acknowledged. I mean, to be fair, yeah. Okay. Maybe you guys are pissed because I've given him a 7. I'm still gonna give him a. I'm still gonna up his rating, but I don't think it's as good as you guys are saying. Max qualified 17 positions behind his teammate. So, okay, that is bait. That is bait. Max qualified 17 positions behind his teammate. I think it was average for the car that he had. I can't give Lewis the same grade as Lando. What does Max get? 8 for passing cars a second slower. I mean, he recovered 60 positions. But no, I do think it's an 8. I do think it's an 8 out of 10. But it's more just funny to me that I don't know. I mean, look, maybe my mindset is just wrong with Lewis in quali, but I don't remember him. I don't remember hearing anything about a battery issue. But maybe I'm not delving deep into the depths of fucking, I don't know. I didn't hear anything about Lewis having a fucking battery issue. Hedger and Lindblad used their batteries recklessly, and that's why they overtook Lewis. Lewis got them back before that too. Charles was quicker on mediums. Lewis was quicker on hards. Pretty simple. It was both Ferraris with battery issues, to be honest. What is happening, bro? What is happening? I'll let you guys fight each other in chat. All I said was a fact, which was Lewis got out qualified by his teammate and finished behind him in the race. And you guys got mad. You guys got mad at me for saying a fact, which is he finished behind his teammate in the race. There's clearly something triggered you guys to get upset at that. Because to say, oh, but Lewis would have gotten a podium if this. Well, he would have got a podium if he outqualified his teammate. And he would have got a podium if he outraced his teammate. Which is fine, but some people have some wild takes. I mean, people are always going to say stupid shit about Lewis. This is the sad thing. People are always going to say stupid shit about Lewis, about Lando, about Russell, because they're stupid. It's a 7 slower than Charles all session or every session. Because you initially gave him a 7, that's why. Okay, to be fair, that probably pissed some people off, but I literally put it as a 7 because I was discussing how it could have been a 7 if you look at it this way. Because I do that sometimes. I'll be like, I reckon it could be a 9 if. It could be a 7 if. And then I'm always changing my ratings as I'm talking. Someone said he got overtaken by Hedger and Lindblad as if he didn't get them back. Like, what the fuck? Yeah. I mean, I do agree with that from whoever said that in the sense of like, well, at the end of the day, Lewis did get overtaken off the start. So if he didn't get overtaken off the start, maybe that would have put him in a better position to get a podium. But yeah, either way, okay, let's run it back. Let's reel it back in. In conclusion, Lewis had a good weekend. He put the car where it should be in the race result. But at the end of the day, he still got beaten by his teammate. So I think like any other driver on the grid, whether it's Pierre and Franco, Ocon and Behrman, Lindblad and Liam, at the end of the day, if you get beaten by your teammate, you're naturally losing 1 point off your rating because you're getting beaten by your teammate. And even though it was 6/10, you still got beaten by your teammate. That's 1 point getting knocked off. And then you're getting 1 point knocked off for qualifying. Okay, he had a battery issue, fair enough, but I didn't hear anything about the battery issue. And if I'm naive, is naive the right word? If I'm in the wrong for giving him 1 less off rating for qualifying because I didn't see or hear anything about this battery issue, then that's my fault. But at the end of the day, he still got beaten by 2 McLarens. I mean, Lando had fucking damage. And can I be honest? Did the battery issue affect him that much? Because he was only a 10th behind Charles. Like, to me, it sounds like Lewis has made 1 comment in an interview. I could be wrong, but to me, it sounds like Lewis has made 1 comment in an interview where he's probably gone like, oh, I had an issue with the battery. And people have gone and been like, see, he had a problem. When it's like, I mean, if he didn't have a battery issue, where do we finish? Would he out-qualified Hadjar? Like, I don't know. It seems everyone was probably having an issue with the battery, and Lewis has just made a one-off comment about how that was what cost him, but did it really? Pure race pace was better from Lewis's side of the guy. No, Lewis was quick. I mean, Lewis has always been quick in race pace, man. Either way, he's winning China, guys. He's winning China. Calm down. He's getting a 10 in China. Don't you worry. Leclerc also had it, but Lewis too. Oh, if fucking Leclerc had it, then why are we having this conversation? This is what I mean, but this is what I mean. Again, I don't hate Lewis, but I hate Lewis Hamilton fans doing this whole, in the last couple years, doing this whole, but this, but that. But he doesn't suit the car. But you can say that about any driver, bro. You can say that about any driver. And in conclusion, he would have got a podium if he qualified higher. And if he got his cock out more on the opening laps. And that's not me saying Lewis is bad. It's just, you can't sit here and be like, oh, but this, but that. But what if he did this? Then he would have got a podium. Lewis was so much better this weekend than last year too. No, 100%. I'm really excited to see how Lewis does this year. Like, I really hope for the sake of himself, he keeps this form up. Because obviously he's lost so much like reputation in the last few years, which is such a shame. However, it will be interesting to see if this continues where he's back in form, he's back competing with the Mercedes and the other teams for wins and podiums and pole positions and stuff like that. But he continues to finish behind Leclerc. What's the narrative going to be? Because I reckon if he finishes behind Lewis, if he finishes behind Leclerc, some people's angle is going to be, he sucks, he's washed, he's getting beaten by Leclerc, he's dog shit. See, look, he's been getting beaten by Leclerc. And then some people's angles is going to be like, guys, look, he's back. He's an amazing driver. He's only 1/10 behind Leclerc and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, I mean, I don't know. Like, you're just going to rate him for what he is. And I mean, that's why I feel like an 8 or even a 7.5 for Lewis is fair this weekend, because he had a good weekend. Don't get me wrong. He had a good weekend, but he still got out-qualified by Leclerc, and he still got outraced by Leclerc, or finished behind Leclerc in the race. Isn't Leclerc meant to be in his prime, to be fair? I'd put 7.5 instead of 8, to be honest. Yeah. I think I'm going to go back down to 7.5 for Lewis. I think I'm just going to go back down to 7.5. Again, I think he did great, but again, with everything I've said, like, I think he needs to... I want him to beat Leclerc to be getting higher, you know what I mean? What's one sport? Thank you so much for the 5-month resub, dude. Really do appreciate coming up with a tier 1. Thank you, man. Thank you. Jess, Emist, Jolie, Brody, Leon Hides, YT Shadow. Thank you guys for the follows. All right, majority of you guys saying 8. A few of you guys saying 9. I disagree with that. A few of you guys saying 7. Interesting. Wow. Lewis, the most controversial of the week. Surprised, but not surprised. If he had forced Ferrari to pit him under the VSC, it would have been an 8 or 9. But then, again, why didn't he? Why, when he came round, he complained on the radio. Love that from Lewis. He's not a fucking pussy like Leclerc who says nothing. He actually said on the radio, like, why aren't we pitting? Are we dumb? But then he came round and then didn't pit. The team was in the pit lane, ready to take Lewis's pit, and he didn't pit. Why? That's not me criticizing Lewis. That's me wondering why he didn't pit. I don't get it. If he had forced Ferrari to pit him, I read that. They didn't tell him. Then why were they in the pit lane then? His engineer said stay out. Why didn't he demand to come in? I don't know. That team confuses me, man. That team confuses me. All right, let's move on to his teammate now. Charles Leclerc. What do you guys rate Charles Leclerc? Out of 10. Get your votes in on the poll. Oh, poll's not up. There we go. Poll is up. Poll is up. All right, Charles had a great weekend. Qualified P4. He did get out qualified by Hadja, which, again, we don't really know relative Red Bull versus Ferrari just yet because of Max not competing in quali. But he out-qualified the McLarens. He out-qualified Lewis by 1/10. I think he put the Ferrari mostly where it should be. It's hard to tell at this point, but P4 is good. But maybe he could have and should have probably beaten Hadja though. So yeah, good quality, but room for improvement. And then in the race, amazing race start. Got past everyone. Took the lead of the race. Amazing battle with Russell. Beautiful deployment. Beautiful. Like, honestly, I think Leclerc was the best driver in that race. The way he managed his battery, the way he battled with Russell, it was amazing to see. I think, if I'm being honest, he made Russell look like a tier below. If I'm being honest, he made Russell look like a tier below. Like, Russell was constantly getting dicked with the battery management, and considering how good that Merc is, for Leclerc to even be racing Russell the way he did, I thought Leclerc did an amazing job. And then, yeah, obviously the VSC came out, poor decisions from Ferrari. I criticize Leclerc about this a lot, but he needs to be more vocal on the radio. Like, I get that he doesn't have all the information all the other drivers have, but Sainz is vocal. Lewis is vocal. Leclerc is just a pussy, man. Leclerc is a pussy. He needs to get on the radio and be like, I want to do this. Because, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I still think Leclerc would have finished where he did. But, yeah, a potential maybe missed opportunity, maybe, for a win. Who knows? But I think that's more because of the VSC coming out than the Ferrari decision, to be honest. But, yeah, ended up finishing in P3. I think Lewis did have better race pace at the end of the race. And if there was a few more laps, I do think Lewis would have beaten him. But there wasn't a few more laps. And due to his great work at the start of the race and his qualifying, he was able to finish P3. Again, don't know where he would have finished if Hadja or Max was in the race, because that Red Bull might have been stronger. But he did his job. He finished P3, podium to start off the year. I'm thinking probably, 9 for Leclerc. I mean, he didn't do anything wrong this weekend, right? He didn't do anything wrong. Beat his teammate in both sessions. Good great qualifying. Could have been one position better. And great race. Dicked Russell down. And would have probably dicked him down longer if it wasn't for the VSC coming out. I think he just trusts the team, even though it costs him. Yeah, but he needs to stop trusting them. Combat Carl, name of the follow, dude. His pace was shit in the second stint, though. Yeah, true. Head was dropping before the DNF. Head was 7 seconds off by lap 8. True. Insanity, Howard Charles put trust in Ferrari, which screws him over and over again. Yeah, that's what I mean. He needs to readjust, man. He needs to readjust. All right, majority of you guys saying a 9 for Charles. All right, we move on to the Mercedes boys. All right, the most controversial driver in driver ratings last year. And I think it's going to continue again this year. Kimi Antonelli. What do you rate Kimi Antonelli's weekend? Out of 10. Get your votes in on the poll. Now, this is my worry with Kimi. I love Kimi. I think he's a great kid. I think he's a great driver. I think he has so much potential in Formula One. But right now, I think he is very, very, very underdeveloped in terms of race pace. I think he's very, very underdeveloped in terms of consistency. And I think he's very, very, very underdeveloped with the way he approaches Formula One from a mindset standpoint. And like his confidence and stuff like that. He is now being thrown into a championship dominating, from what we can tell, a dominating championship winning car in his second season. And I think some people are going to think Antonelli is much better than what he is because he's finishing P2. But if you're finishing P2, X amount of seconds off your teammate, if you're qualifying P2 after making multiple mistakes in the session, that doesn't mean that you're good or that you've had a good result. You know what I mean? Like, a good result is a great result is beating your teammate. A good result is finishing near your teammate. Finishing P2, 7 tenths off your teammate, isn't a good result. However, he wasn't 7 tenths off. He was 3 tenths off in quali. But still, 3 tenths off your teammate in qualifying isn't amazing. So it's going to be very similar. I think this situation with Russell and Antonelli is going to be very similar to the McLaren boys. Like, we're going to have to look at the gap between them versus looking at the driver individually. So anyways, Kimi finished 3 tenths off of Russell in qualifying, which, again, he did his job. He put the car P2, but it's 3 tenths off his teammate. His performance could have been better in that sense. Actually, we're going to throw it back to practice first. We don't rate the driver's practice performance, but when you crash the car up like that in practice, making it hard for your team, making yourself have to drive a car with no setup the whole weekend, sorry, for qualifying in the race, that is going to knock your rating down. Like crashing in practice like that, like come on, bro, come on. However, in qualifying, he managed to get out. You could argue he was lucky to get out because of Max's crash. I'm not too sure if they would have got him out or not, but he got out, made his way into Q3, got his job done, qualified P2, great, but it was 3/10 off his teammate. Then in the race had a horrible start. I think one of the worst starts on the grid other than Liam. Dropped all the way down to, what position was it? All the way down to 7th, and had to put in a lot of work to catch up. And if I'm being honest, I think if it wasn't for the VSCs, I don't think he would have recovered to P2 in that race. I think Russell still would have won, but Kimi didn't show to me that he had the race pace or the ability racing the guys around him to have recovered to P2, and I think he was very lucky that the VSCs came out. In the end, though, he only finished 3 seconds behind Russell in the race. Now, could that be because Russell was conserving? Maybe. But still, not too bad of a finishing position for Kimi. But it's going to be very interesting to keep your eye on Kimi. You know, it seems like that same young, inexperienced head is still on his shoulders of making mistakes and pushing the car too much when he shouldn't. And I still think people are way too, way too lenient on Antonelli. And because he's young, because he's a nice guy, are giving him the benefit of the doubt for these crashes, for these performances relative to his teammate. And I'm going to continue to be hard on him. I love him. I think he's a great driver. I think he's going to be a great driver. But when it comes to rating drivers, we need to look at the performance. And when you're slower than your teammate and making multiple mistakes, you are going to get a lower rating. So with that said, I'm going to give Kimi a 7, I think. 7 or 7.5. I think part of me thinks he had a worse weekend than Lewis relative to the car. And I've given Lewis a 7.5. I think a crash in practice, multiple mistakes in qualifying, 3/10 off your teammate, terrible start, only finished in P2 because of a VSC. I don't think you can get a result higher than a 7. Again, maybe he would have finished P2 if there wasn't a VSC. Maybe he would have qualified there. Would have qualified higher if he didn't have his crash. But then again, he caused the crash, which gave him a shit setup. Like, I don't know. I think it's 7. I agree. Lindblad surprised me as they're lenient with Oscar. A poor quali 4/10 off. Wait, let me scroll all the way back up. Read you guys' message from the start here. Is very lucky because that quali could have been a P20. Oh, 100%. 9, excellent pace and composure all weekend. Very clean execution. I disagree. To still have all their mistakes and almost catch Russell, though. Yeah. That's one way you could look at it. Or, again, it really depends what way you look at it with Lewis or Russell. Lewis and Antonelli. Antonelli, you can look and be like, damn, to have all those mistakes and issues and still finish P2, great work. Or you can look at it and be like, man, if he didn't have all those mistakes, he would have won. He had a failed start. He was slower than Russell, despite Russell thought so much. He got lucky that Max crashed and gave him time to set up his car. Potential got to start showing this year, though. Race pace, he had the best race this race. Kimi had the best race pace? He was slower than Russell. The thing's much more difficult than it should have been with the crash. Good to put it second with all that pressure, but bad start, but good recovery and only finished 3 seconds behind Russell in the end. Fair, but that mistake, even the pros did it. By a graphic I saw, Kimi had the best race pace that whole race, with Lewis in second, Russell in third, Charles in fourth. Really? I mean, I think Russell's irrelevant in this race because he would have been conserving because he was so far out in front chilling after that VSC. Kimi's going to be very good. It's too bad that they don't have this car when he was like 3 years old. Yeah, I think if the VSC didn't come out, both Fries would have beat him. Again, it's woulda, coulda, shoulda. It's all like if, but I think he was lucky that the VSC came out. A poor quality 4/10 off George. Race pace was good, finishing only 3 seconds off George, but he gained on George at the end after the VSC. Mistakes such as lockups and start makes the score 7 for you. He probably would have won without the mistakes. Yeah, so, I mean, again, it's hard to tell because Russell probably wasn't pushing full out as well. And we didn't really get to see Kimi properly battle with Lewis, Leclerc, and Russell because of everything that was going on. All right, I'm gonna go 7 for Antonelli. I'm being harsh. I think results wise it's an 8, but I think I'm gonna be harsh. Crash in practice, mistakes in quali, fuck start. Was lucky the VSC came out. To be honest, you could argue he's almost lucky he's getting a 7th. But at the end of the day, he did his job. He finished P2. He got the points for the team. And yeah, I am keen to see how Kimi and Russell play out this year. I do think Russell's going to dominate him this year, but I'm curious to see how much better Kimi does get because, I mean, he only finished 3 seconds behind Russell in the end. All right, final race. Final driver to rate. We've got George Russell. Get your votes in on the poll. What do you rate George Russell out of 10? Mr. G. Russ. All right, so George in qualified P1, outqualified his teammate by 3/10, outqualified the next best car by 8/10. Yeah, look, he's got the best car on the grid, but you have to rate based off of the car, and that is he went P1 with the fastest car, and he dominated. Well, he outqualified his teammate, and he dominated everyone else. 10 out of 10 for quali. Race, however, you know, obviously not as good of a start as the Ferrari boys. He held on to P2 though, right? Yeah, still held on to P2 in the race. You know, held off Lewis, who qualified lower, held off the Red Bull. So yeah, you know, I think you could argue like it was expected for him to lose the place to Leclerc. What I didn't expect though was how much he got dicked around by Leclerc. I thought Leclerc completely outraced him, completely outmanaged the battery on him, and to have a car that's 8/10 quicker in qualifying for you to get dicked around that much was pretty disappointing to me. However, VSC came out. I'm not going to say on Kimi's level it saved him, but it saved him from the troubles of having to battle Leclerc. I still think he would have won anyway. I think his race pace and consistency was good enough anyway. So yeah, and then he cruised home, you know, outraced his teammate, finished, no problems, and won the race. But yeah, it wasn't a convincing domination for me. For a car that's 8/10 quicker in qualifying to get dicked around that much by Leclerc, I don't think it's a 10. I think it's a 9. I think if that situation happened without the VSC, I'd give him a 9.5. I'd knock 0.5 off because he got dicked around by Leclerc for too long and he should have dominated. I think because the VSC saved him, like there is a world, there is a world that the VSC doesn't come out and Leclerc just continues to battery management, continues to dick around, and he loses the race. Because he didn't show me in those 10 laps that he was capable of beating Leclerc, and Leclerc was in a slower car. So I'm gonna go 9 for Russell. But still, great weekend. Like I said it after practice 3. If Russell doesn't win the championship this year, I'll shave my beard off. I'm so confident he will win the championship now. Like I already put him as my champ preseason. I'm so confident he'll win the championship now. Like I'm willing to put a bet on it. I will shave my beard off if he doesn't win. I think he's that good. I think he's that good of a driver. I think he'll win. He had the massive lockup too. CL1 baby, clip it. Hopefully he wins. If he loses, it means he choked the World Driver Championship. I mean, yeah, we'll have to see how this season plays out though. So this is the first week with no driver over 10. Oh, no, there's been a lot of sprint weekends I haven't given out a 10. I think it's also, we're limited. I think it's hard to give a driver a 10 this week because we're still figuring out the pecking order and stuff like that. But yeah. All right. Majority of you guys saying a 9 as well for Russell. A few of you saying 10, a few of you saying 8. But yeah, that was a fun rating session. Overall, we agreed on basically every single driver, which was surprising. Only Lewis really. Was it Lewis and someone else? Only really Lewis was the only driver that was kind of controversial. Everyone else, we kind of all agreed on, at least within one rating of each other. I mean, we all agreed on Lewis in the end anyway. I think a lot of you just were confused why I was being harsh on Lewis, but like, I think it deserves for him to be harsh on when you get out-qualified by 2 McLarens. But yeah. Anyways, I think what it is like, for anyone who sat through that whole driver rating segment, you'll see like, I pick apart everyone's weekend. I picked apart Russell, the fucking winner's race. I picked apart Kimmy. I picked apart Lee. I even picked apart Liam's weekend. You know what I mean? Like, I literally picked apart Liam and how poor his weekend was. But then as soon as it gets to Lewis, or as soon as it gets to Kimmy, and I criticize them, it's like, why are you being mean to them? And it's like, bro, I was mean to everyone. I was mean to everyone. Anyways, I was very surprised that ratings went as smooth as it did because I did not. Last year in Australia, it was so hard to rate, but that was probably because of all the wet and stuff like that. But if we go through the ratings, who got the highest ratings this week? Who were the highest? Was it, I think it was Borderletto and Bearman. Was it, I think we got 5 9s. I think Borderletto got 9, Lindblad got 8.5. No, Bearman got the highest rating, 9.5 for Bearman, 9 for Borderletto, 9 for Lindblad, 9 for Charles, 9 for Russell. So yeah, 4 9s and a 9.5. Anyways, guys, that wraps up driver ratings. Thank you all for tuning on in. We do this every single Monday after a Grand Prix weekend. So join me next Monday for what will be a hard rating session because it's not only early season, but it's also a sprint weekend, which makes things so hard. If you're watching on TikTok or YouTube right now, come join us on Twitch. I'm going to stay live for a little bit longer because I want to watch the F3 feature race highlights and a couple other videos. So come join us on Twitch if you want to keep watching. Otherwise, YouTube. I'll see you guys later. Have a good night. Bye-bye.